Hello and welcome to the Wintrepreneurship Enterprise Futures podcast. Today we're joined by Taylor. Hello. So this podcast is all about self-employment, enterprise and entrepreneurship. So if you're watching this, do make sure you watch the other episodes before this and the ones coming afterwards. So feel free to introduce yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
I always feel like an introduction feels really forced.
It does.
But, I am Taylor and my business is Ignite with Taylor, which is built up of a few different funnels, I guess. So I've got one-to-one online fitness coaching. I am currently about to launch a affordable fitness app, which will have home and gym and yoga and recipes, so that'll be fun. I also have mindfulness journals. So basically it's just built up of everything that can help you on your fitness and wellness journey.
Perfect. Well, we've sort of broken down today into a few parts, really. So we start off with, we're going to look at deglamourising entrepreneurship a bit. So I feel like, and I think we've discussed this in the past, there's a lot of like, oh, you're going to make millions if you become an entrepreneur, you're going to become the next big thing, you're going to make Facebook, you're going to do the next big business. And it's really not all about that.
No.
So I'm wondering your opinion on this.
I think that social media has become very much a place where entrepreneurship is over glamorized, and it can make you feel like if you aren't wanting or going to become a billionaire or the next billionaire in the next 6 months, then you aren't good enough. And I think that it's kind of been lost in the messaging that actually to start a business with purpose and simply just replace maybe your office income is enough, because if you're doing something with passion and something that you love and something that you believe in and you're adding value, and it means that you can do what you love every day rather than potentially going to that job that you weren't enjoying going to, then that's fine. And also I think that on the other side of that, not everybody needs to want to be an entrepreneur in order to be successful. You can be successful in a corporate structure, you can be successful doing any job that you enjoy. There is no job that isn't good enough. The only time that you shouldn't be doing it is if you wake up every day and think, I don't want to be going there, I don't want to be doing that.
Yeah, definitely. You say about there as well about adding value. I think that's really important. Even considering social enterprises, it's all about making that value worth it. It's not just about the money element. It's about, if you're specifically in social enterprise, if you start a social enterprise business, you are focusing on the value you give to that community.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you also need to consider your personal value to the business itself. So if you're working in, let's say you're working for the university like myself, it's all about the value that you as a person can also add, which says a lot about employability, about your career. It's about saying, how do you support others? And you sort of need to see your business as another personality of saying, this business will give value, it will support people. And that's a really important element. And I put in my notes, it's saying it might be a lot of work, but it's very rewarding. And I think that's what some people see, is that they might not think sometimes it's as much work as it could be.
Yeah.
But actually, it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and I think that if you don't feel fulfilled in what you're doing, if your sole purpose is to make money, you will burn out a lot faster. You won't be able to see it through, because especially in the world of social media, say for example for myself, just use myself as an example, in the fitness industry, there are hundreds of other women in the fitness industry, potentially with better physiques than me, with better business ideas, but comparing myself to them, if I don't know who I am when I come up to social media, I'm going to lose myself very quickly. And that happens in any business. If you are constantly trying to be somebody else, or you don't know who you are, you're not going to know your personal brand, you're not going to be able to make business decisions, you're not then going to be able to employ people, because how can you tell them your personal brand for them to be able to build your business if you don't know what it is? So you definitely need to know who you are.
Oh, definitely. And this actually leads on nicely to the next bit of discussing about branding. I think it was us that said this in our last meeting. It's more than just a logo and some colours and a font. It's about that sort of personality of the brand. You need to think, what do I bring? What do people see in us? What's our image overall? It's also how we treat people.
Yeah.
a bit. It's all about that kind of thing. Do you want to go into more details about that?
Yeah, so I think that with branding, there's a lot of emphasis on logos and colour schemes and how your product looks, how your website looks. And that's all great because visual branding is important as well, so that you're recognised as a brand, as a product. But there's a few different elements to that. One of them that we talked about is when you're starting a business, I can't stress this enough, but start where you are, because if you're looking at, say, a company like Nike, and they've got a cool name, and a cool logo, and a cool website, you try not to be that far ahead before you are, because if I started a business called Nike, no one is going to necessarily Google that and look for my business and find it. And people sometimes try to be too quirky before they've actually set the foundations of their business. So something that we talked about the other day is use platforms like Etsy, call your business what it is so that people can actually find it. And you can make it cool and rebrand at any time once you've got that base of customers and people buying into your personal brand before you try to get a little bit too funky. You know? So like that's one tip on branding. Then there's the other side of it, which is your voice, your messaging, your core values. You need to know your core values, beliefs, what you're trying to achieve, who is your target audience, who is that person that you're trying to impact or help in a certain way, whatever your business is. Because if you don't know that, you can't tell your employees that, and they can't continue that messaging. Because I guess you don't need to build a huge corporate structure as a business, but you may even just have an intern or someone helping you with your social media, and if you don't know what that looks like, how can they help you do that as well? So that's a huge part of branding.
And that's something going on about having a major corporate structure. When I started a community interest company back in 2017. That was initially 4 of us. Just 4 of us. We were a theatre company, we put on shows. I did a show in Suffolk in London, did a few shows in Winchester, and it's all about trying to utilise what you've got rather than going, I'm going to get this big corporate structure, we're going to have procedures, policies, this. It's like, well, to start off, you don't really need that. You can sort of go, take your time.
Yeah.
Something else that was quite an interesting discussion I had with a person the other day was when it comes to branding and personal branding specifically, is that sort of distinguishment between yourself and your brand. So some people use themselves as their brand. So people on fitness on Instagram, quite a lot of them use their name, their image as their story. Whereas some people may say, there needs to be that hard distinguishment between this is my personal name and this is the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with yours, you do use your name in the title, Ignite with Taylor. Yeah.
My business is definitely built from me. So from my side, I guess I can only really talk about personal brand. But I guess you can still, if you're creating a business that isn't you, you still need to tell that story because people buy from people. And if a small business came along in my community, I would still probably want to know the story of why they started it and why they've done it, why they're there, what their values are, because people buy into that. So it doesn't necessarily need to be you that they buy into, but I still think that you need to portray your story and let people know why you've created this business.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm going to keep going on about the branding mix. It's quite an important element. The university, it's a public document. We have a branding guideline document. I think it's about 120 pages long, and it includes the tone of voice. Now I'm going to move that tone of voice bit about social media. Social media at the current time is a bit of a hot topic, especially in the United States. Even in this country, they discuss how people have that freedom of speech to say what they want on social media. If you were putting a business post, would you then put your personal view into that? Just any answer is acceptable here. I'm not trying to catch you out.
I think for myself, I'm so hyper aware of everything that I say and how it could be perceived from all types of people, and I try to say things with good intention. I definitely share a lot of my own views on my business post purely because my beliefs around fitness and my journey and nutrition and all of those things, I kind of have to speak from my views.
Okay.
But I think that there's a way to do it, which is like, I try to say that this is how I feel, rather than this is factually correct and this is what everyone should think. Because everyone has their own view and opinion. And if you believe something to be true, then you're right. And if I believe something to be true, then I'm
you're
right.
Yeah.
So you can't really go anywhere from that.
The main reason I asked that question is because that is a question that has been asked to me before by a student saying, "Oh, can I put my views into a business?" I'm like, absolutely. That can sort of bolster the values of your business.
Yeah.
Like your views could essentially be the views of your business. So it's just trying to make sure that when you do say that, like you say, make sure to say, this is what I believe, this is what I think. Prove me wrong, but this is what I think we should be saying here. And it's really important that businesses, now more than ever, do become a bit more having, opinions, a bit more, because businesses need to say they need to say what's right and wrong. Businesses, I think, need to understand a bit more that they do have a platform. And if a student starts a business, they also have a platform to then start saying what's right and what's wrong. Especially given the past few years, it's really important so that businesses then say, look, we understand, we may be part of the problem, but we're doing this to fix it. It's these kind of things to then start considering, especially considering branding and the future, like longevity of the business can actually just come down to the branding. It's quite important that you consider it in that sense. So I'm going to put you a bit on the spot, and it's going to be a shorter episode than normal. I think it's going to be about 15 minutes. What I want you to do is just say, imagine a student is here now, wanting to start a business specifically in your area. What would you say to them?
Oh my god.
It's a difficult question.
What would I say to them? To encourage them?
Encourage them and maybe just say, here's a word of caution to the wind. If it was a certain area like, oh, this bit you might find difficult, but this bit's really encouraging.
Okay. There's so many things. I think that my biggest ever piece of advice would be to just say, make sure you know who you are going into it. That's my biggest piece of advice to anybody who wants to use social media as a marketing tool. Because social media is a great marketing tool, but if you, like I say, go into social media not knowing who you are, it can be such a toxic place, and you can find yourself in deep periods of comparison, and it can be a not very nice place to be. So I would say get clear on who you are, know that you are enough as you are, and your values, follow people that also add value, because there's this great feature on social media where you can mute people and you can unfollow them. And if you find yourself having a negative experience because of something someone's doing, just remove it. That would be my biggest piece of advice. But then in terms of actually growing a business from social media, I would say don't focus on the amount of followers that you have. If you say that over and over again, like I had 5,000 followers on Instagram and I was earning more money than some people who had 100,000. And I was so in the beginning thinking that if I had that many followers, my business would be successful. And it's just not the case. So use insights and focus on building your target audience. If I had, so I'm in a really fortunate position where my target audience is women and my audience is like 75% women, which is, I'm really proud of. But if you're building a business and you have 300,000 followers, but 95% of them are men, are they going to buy a sports bra? Are they going to join your online coaching? Are they going to actually purchase through your affiliate links? Probably not. So yeah, okay, you might feel great from a place of, oh, I've got loads of followers, but from a business point of view, you want to build your target audience through your insights and really focus on that. Focus on your engagement, so how many people are watching your posts, how many people are saving them, how much value are you adding through that platform, and be business savvy rather than vain, because I guess it's not a popularity contest if you're trying to build a business. Be really, really smart about it, because I've watched so many people when I started out in the fitness on social media, which is about 3 years ago, zoom past me on followers, and then they put out a little announcement being like, oh, social media's got too much for me, I'm not having a good experience, I'm leaving. And I've been the tortoise, and it's like slow and steady and taken time for myself offline, built a really good relationship with real life and social media, focused on engagement, and it's got me to be able to work with brands that are really great because they want to see your insights and they want to see that I have a large female following. They don't care how many followers I have. And yeah, that would be my biggest piece of advice going into social media. Like, think business, don't think popularity.
Perfect. So if people were to try and find you on social media, what would be the best @ for them on Instagram?
My current main page is @trainwithtaylor.
Perfect. If not, I'll put it in the description so people can access it. It's not just going to be, I'll put a link in there. If you're watching this as part of Beyond Your Degree Week, do make sure you watch the videos of the previous week's content. They're all available on Career Connect, so just go to winchester.jobteaser.com. Other than that, thank you very much, and thank you very much, and hope to see you in the next one.